I'm Julie Saunders.
I'm Jan Wilson. Julie and I both have experience as school librarians, and we've worked together as district library leaders.
In each episode, we'll dive into our profession with interviews and meaningful content to inspire you. We're not experts,
but we're pretty close.
The ideas and opinions shared by any host, guest, or listener are their own and do not represent those of any respective school district.
Welcome to Library Exchange. This episode is sponsored by Mackin. For over 40 years, Mackin has provided pre-K through 12th grade libraries and classrooms with access to over 4 million printed and digital fiction and nonfiction titles.
The 26-time multi-award-winning digital content management system, Mackin Via, along with divisions Mackin Library, Mackin Classroom, Mackin Maker, Mackin Learning, and the brand new whole school resource management system, Mackin Vision, help to create a truly unique and robust educational resource company that schools and educators have relied on year after year.
For more information, visit mackin.com today.
Jan, it's November, and I think we can officially say it's time for cozy sweaters.
You know that's going to lead me directly into saying sweater weather. Sweater weather.
One of your favorite things to say. You've been waiting all year to say it.
All year. It's one of my favorite Saturday Night Live skits. Sweater weather.
All right. Well, let's get back on track. Listeners, whether you're planning for next month or 2026, this episode should give you a new program idea to consider for your school library.
Well, that's a nice segue, Julie. Really, that's my sign, Laura. Like, Jan, get to the introduction. So I got it. Laura Silver. Laura Silver is the school librarian at New Utrecht High School in Brooklyn, New York. Interesting fact, she is the first New York City public school librarian to achieve certification through the Sustainable Library Certification Program.
Last year, Laura biked 239 miles across France with 49 others. They made stops at 19 libraries. And in 2023, she attended AASL thanks to the Tour Scholarship for Strong Public School Libraries.
Yes, we are excited to talk to Laura today. Welcome to Library Exchange.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. What an honor.
Do you like to wear sweaters, Laura?
I love a good sweater, but right now I thought you'd never ask. But especially when I'm listening to podcasts or being on them, but I wasn't forewarned, so I'm only wearing a scarf.
Okay.
But it's almost a sweater.
It is. It's cozy.
Close enough.
It's cozy.
So, Laura, can you tell us a little bit about your school and staff to get us started?
Sure. Well, I'm one of two librarians at New Utrecht High School in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. We have a student body of over 3,000 amazing young people. Our staff is about 200. We are a Title I school, and we have a robust population of multilingual learners and students who are newly arrived to the U.S. and New York City. So we have many languages and cultures and ethnicities at play, which makes for a very rich environment.
Yes. So let's turn our attention to this episode's topic because I'm excited about it. Will you describe Postcrossing, how you heard about it, what inspired you to bring it to your students?
Oh, sure. Well, I first heard about Postcrossing from a dear friend of mine, Sarah Salem, when she was director of a rural library in Massachusetts. And it was a public library, and she told me about the setup. She sent me photos. And at her library, there was a map and a postcard writing station. So library patrons could write a postcard to an address that was provided. And it's not a pen pal program. So the idea is one subscribes to the Postcrossing website and gets an account. And then each person with an account now I receive 7 addresses at a time. And those are the ones that are traveling postcards. And once they've arrived, other cards will be sent to me.
So it's not an exchange with the same person.
No.
Okay.
And that makes it very exciting because it allows us to reach and hear from countries all over the world. So far, we've heard from Australia, Japan, Germany, Portugal, Lithuania. It's great for reinforcing geography skills and students' familiarity with different areas of the world. And it allows us to call on the linguistic prowess of students across our student body.
So that's really a great description of your program, and it ties into something else I want to ask you about. So for this, students are writing a postcard, probably something they're doing for the first time. What
Right.
skills are important to teach students when beginning this?
Well, first, it's important to teach students what a postcard is. I discovered to my chagrin, right? Because they're no longer common currency, fortunately, in my opinion. So it's good to have some examples. I've shown them postcards I've received and even introducing the notion of the two sides of a card. That one side, here's one I wrote recently, one, has a picture. This is from my collection. This is from
Nice.
2013.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this right now.
So it is just, it's a photograph of Columbus Circle in New York City that was taken in 1978.
Wow.
But it was exhibited in 2012 to 2013 at the New York Public Library, as it happens.
Oh.
So I'm definitely, on theme. But so it's important to show students that usually when writing a card that's decorated on one side that has an image, on the flip side, one half of the card is for the address and the other half is for a message, right? And then there is a stamp that usually goes in this position, because that I've noticed is a common misconception, that there's not necessarily a familiarity with the whole notion of the placement of a postage stamp. Also, I've noticed that, here we get the addresses provided and we don't have to put a return address, right? So that tends to clarify that. But even what I noticed is intrinsically, I capitalize the name of a country, right? I guess it's something I learned as a kid, but students don't necessarily do that, which isn't bad, but it might be helpful. So I think just introducing them to the format and the function, and maybe even a little bit of the history. We have a book of postcards of historical New York City, which is a fun reference. And just have students think of, what does a postcard equate to in today's media landscape or interpersonal communication landscape? What is it? Is it text with a picture? Is it TikTok posts? Is it, what could it be?
Right.
And
Sorry, Laura. I'm curious, since you began talking about it, since so much of our students' communication is digital, well, really the mass majority of the world, I guess, is. Do you have guidelines for what they write on the postcard, or can you walk us through the process of selecting a card, writing the note? Are there privacy measures with their names? And I'm asking you a lot of questions. And do you read the cards before mailing them? Can you answer all of those?
Yes, I do read the cards before mailing them. I have mixed feelings about that, but students are not permitted to write their full name at all. First name only, or they can just put one initial. So that's important. And the cards are never addressed to students because it's my name on the account. So, that's the privacy issues covered. I do look at them, and in some cases, it's a really great exercise in revision and editing for students. I don't necessarily know the levels or writing skills of a student who participates. So this is open to anyone who wants to be part of it. And some cards benefit from more tweaking than others. And so for different students, the experience is slightly different and can focus on different aspects of the writing. I notice we do provide models for students, and including, where to write the date. Though I see here one student wrote date : and then the date. Because the model said date : So always learning. There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't correct small oversights. It's only if an initial draft needs tweaking for meaning to be understood. So that is something I've started doing also, is having first-time postcard writers practice by writing a draft. Just because then I can edit it without any, edit. I can give feedback or have another student give feedback in a very low stakes kind of way.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I hit all but the process is as follows. So we, on the Postcrossing site, even though this is an analog project, its backbone is digital, right? Which the digital aspect makes it all possible. Otherwise, it would be very hard to just access addresses. It's almost like an old time chain letter. Oh, perish the thought. But this is, so we're provided addresses. When I hit send me an address, then we get an address and it's randomized. I mean, Germany has a lot of post-crossing folks. So we tend, in a group of 7, we had 2 addresses in Germany, but we also had Malaysia, Italy, France, Japan. So we don't determine where we get cards, where the addresses are from. There is an option to add the United States, and I did choose that for a while, and then I deselected it because I think that's a different project, also a valuable one, but we need a different map. We only have a world map. We don't have, we had 1 or 2 cards from the Seattle area or the West Coast. But
wow,
that's a nice variety, though. The ones that you have had, that's a nice variety.
Yes, we've been lucky. We're almost, none from Africa, the continent of Africa yet, but that it is possible to see how many post-crossers are in each country. And unfortunately, there are fewer users in Africa. But I was thinking to compensate for that, or perhaps encourage communication with some of students' countries of origin, we might eventually seek out educational institutions, schools, or nonprofits there. Even if Postcrossing doesn't include, equal numbers of writers and postcard writers around the world, it would be nice to correct for that or to create other opportunities. And closer to home, we have had other letter writing projects or card writing projects, notably with senior centers. For Valentine's Day, that was through the Glamour Girls, an organization that also has club chapters, I think mostly for 8th graders, where students visit nursing homes or senior homes. So we're interested in repeating that. We had 100 cards written and decorated by students,
great.
and that was in conjunction with an art teacher too. So
okay, just so I understand, you expanded this program to include your community by doing the senior citizens centers?
No. Thank you for the question. No, that was sort of a spin-off. It was a parallel project.
Oh, okay.
Because those were cards that students created, and I put them all in one envelope and mailed them to the address we were given. So that was simpler in the fact that students just wrote, "Dear friend," and it was a card. I think students are generally more familiar with making a greeting card. There were several models we provided there too, which were helpful.
So I'm just wondering, Laura, have you received any surprising messages on any postcards or memorable messages? And also, what is a typical reaction from the students when they receive a postcard?
Okay, well, first of all, no X-rated messages. If that's what you're getting at. I'm very pleased to say. But we did, I think, one of the more thrilling cards. Well, we received, I'd say, 2 cards of note. One of the cards is from a ranked Lithuanian cross-country skier.
Wow.
On the back part of the card has a sticker. So on this part where the message is written, he has a sticker he pastes showing, or it's printed on. I'm not sure how he gets it, but it's a picture of him and his skis and his accolades, his awards. So that was kind of exciting.
That's very exciting.
Especially since my family does have connection to Lithuania. And the other one was from Australia, and it was like a first day cover. So stamped on the first day, a stamp came out, and it was from the 1980s celebrating the partnership between the eagle and the koala. So between the United States and Australia.
Ah, that's cool.
And so that was old. It resonated a lot for me. But students were excited to see that. And then one more we received last year around Halloween time had all these skeletons on it and some stickers. So folks are really creative, and these are often adults. I think it's exciting for students to look at the postmark, look at the stamp. I challenge them to figure out where the card is from before I tell them. So they really have to examine the text closely. These are like tasks in English class, right? Use context clues. What do you see? What is written there? What can you maybe not read? So you have to intuit from something else.
Some of those skills you learn when analyzing a primary document, like look at all four corners.
Yeah, these are primary source documents in a way.
And it's kind of like with reading, we're always talking about mirrors and windows.
Yeah.
These postcards really do that as well for students.
Definitely. Or even my favorite, the sliding door, because students are stepping into another realm for a moment. And I have a student who is now the postmaster. This is her second year participating. And I asked her, in advance of this, I asked her, what does this mean to you? And she said, postcrossing connects students in a society that favors antisocial circles. I know, this is a brilliant individual.
Wow.
It nurtures curiosity and invites the open-minded to learn more about the world and the diverse cultures it holds. It also functions as a creative outlet and as a sort of meditation as you connect to strangers and practice empathy. I personally recommend it lots.
Wow.
Okay,
That's
well, Laura,
powerful. Very powerful.
Yeah.
Speaking of that curiosity, for a school librarian who loves this idea and wants to get started, what are the first steps that you would recommend to kind of launch or start this project in their own library?
Sure. First, I'd say go for it. Your first step is probably to check out the Postcrossing website. So look, there is a question about schools and some indications of what would be a next step. The information there deals mostly with classes. I'd say starting this project in a library is slightly different because you may not have the same students day after day or week after week. So I set it up as a sort of a passive programming idea. So number 2 would be to identify what goals you have for the program. For me, I wanted to have a vibrant visual in the library. I wanted to create a project that students could participate in or could benefit from just by looking at it. And I really wanted to display a world map because
great idea.
Internationalism is such an important part of our school community. In addition, I wanted students to be able to use their many languages and create visuals. So we have the poster set up on a big whiteboard and it can be moved around, but mostly it's accessible and a lot of students come up and just point to places on the map and show each other where they're from or places they've been. So I'd say identifying your goals will help you figure out the next steps. In most cases, you'll probably want to create a model of a postcard just so students can get the idea of the components. There are some resources from the National Postal Museum in Washington, D.C. It's a Smithsonian museum. They do have some online resources or digital exhibitions. You might want to introduce students to the concept of postage stamps also.
Right.
And there could, if you want to expand this, there could even be a design a postage stamp activity for a class. I mean, I'd say think about how do you want this to function in tandem with class visits, or is it just for individuals? Did you want to collaborate with a teacher? But keep in mind that it's hard to control the regularity of the postcard's arrival.
Well, it seems to work well with your passive programming. So that's, to me, a great takeaway from your experience with this.
Yeah, and we put the postcards on a board. Before we send postcards, I take snapshots of them and I print them out. So we also have visuals of the cards students have sent. I do not post the messages students have written, but I ask students to write their name and date on the printout with the address and the information about the postcrosser they've written to. And that's mostly because sometimes we receive a thank you email from the person and I want to forward it to the student or invite them to respond. So in that way, I keep track, although I'm thinking of moving to a spreadsheet, something a little more technically advanced.
So many great suggestions. It's actually time to wrap up, and we have enjoyed so much learning about your experience with Postcrossings. We just really want to thank you, Laura, for visiting with us today.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to write you a thank you postcard. And this is a treat. So to be continued, I welcome any queries or ideas.
Thank you so much again for your time today.
Thank you too. What a pleasure.
Julie, we exchanged ideas and it's time for our recap. So I want to switch it up a little bit. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
So let's do this recap a little differently. So you share yours and then I'll do mine. So maybe we won't talk over one another, which results in so much editing. Should I mention here that I am the one that's responsible for editing? So this is selfish. But I want to see how it goes. Let's try it. So on your mark, get set, go, Julie.
Okay. So the Postcrossings program is such a practical way to connect students to new and familiar worlds beyond the school building walls. Sure, we can provide opportunities like this using technology, but to bring back a way to communicate that many students have never heard of provides a new perspective.
Yeah, you're not used to me not saying something right now. Go ahead.
What am I going to do with being interrupted?
Go ahead.
So students cannot use keyboard shortcuts like Control-Z to redo or copy and paste to simplify the process. They are having to actually think through the whole message before committing to putting ink on a postcard. But this is the way people used to document their travels with a short message, and it's the historical way to text or email a message back in the 1900s.
Ooh.
Right?
Somebody did a little research on postcards.
Well, I didn't have to because I actually lived in the 1900s.
Oh. I get it. I get what you're saying. Do you have more?
Sure. Since it isn't a pen pal program, the variety of places and people varies tremendously. And so that just gives the students a little more context and adds a little bit more knowledge about people in other places globally.
That's nice. So I wanted to start off by saying that this is another example of school librarians learning from public librarians because that's how she heard of it. So those partnerships pay dividends, or as you would say, big ROI, right? Return on investment.
I love ROI.
So it works both ways. And then, Julie, something that we both focus on when we're talking to librarians is that with passive programming, we seem to see a lot of programming that is SEL, which is important, but it's important to include activities which focus on promoting reading and literacy. And so this programming, I give it a gold star because it includes geography skills, which I wish I had more exposure to. Geography and directions are not a strength for me. You know that. But now I'm letting our listeners into that little secret. And you also mentioned the variety of places they've heard from, which is great for a school like hers because this highlights the multilingual learners and the internationalism at her school. And I wrote down that since our podcast is international, maybe our listeners in Africa can give this program a boost because Laura mentioned there are very few Postcrossing.
Oh, we have some listeners in Kenya and in South Africa.
Yes, they need to contact us about that if they can't access the website. And then it wasn't mentioned during the recording, but she set up a GoFundMe site to pay for postage. And I bet if your school PTA or a local business heard about this idea, they would support and sponsor the postage. Don't you think?
I do.
Yeah. And the quote from one of her students, that was one of the first things I wrote down. She said, "The program connects students in a society that favors antisocial circles. This fosters empathy and curiosity by connecting them." So this program encourages open-mindedness and empathy.
So there are a lot of opportunities for learning that can be provided for students with these types of programs, starting with what are these strange things that people used to use to communicate and how does it work? And she gives a lot of good tips on how to get started. And it sounded like she had so much success with this program that she's exploring other options to expand community reach locally as well.
Yeah, I wrote that down, Julie, that she focused on the format and the function and the history of a postcard. And these types of things are kind of coming back. You know, our younger generation is going back to some of the things that we did. And I think I told you I picked up postcards in each state on my way to AASL. So it had an impact on me. And yeah, this is a great idea. I just think, Julie, if librarians are looking for a program idea that doesn't rely on screens, even though she has to manage it digitally through the website, this is a simple one to get students involved with. And it's proof that sometimes the best programs are the simplest. A huge thank you again to Laura Silver for sharing this incredible idea. And we can't wait for you to tune in to our next episode.
Make sure to visit our website at www.libraryexchangepodcast.com.
You'll find episode notes and links. You can even submit your questions or inspiring stories that may be featured on the podcast.
If you're looking for some swag for your library or book-loving friends, visit libraryexchange.etsy.com.
That's a lot of URLs, so I'm glad you had to say all of that, Julie.
Thanks for joining us. We can't wait to have you back for our next episode of Library Exchange.